Hey, what's up? Welcome to another live edition of The Mandatory. If you rock with us, thank you so much. But also make sure to hit that like and subscribe button. It helps the channel grow. Also, follow us on our social media channels. We're at The Mandatory TKO. Lots to get into in this one because we are going to be breaking down all things when it comes to Naoya Inoue versus Nery. And keep the comments coming because we're going to get into all of that. But most importantly, we're also available on the audio side, y'all. So you got a couple of minutes. Make sure to leave a rate and review. Give us a 5-star because that helps the channel grow as well. And we do appreciate you joining us for this live edition. Keep in mind, we're also going to be doing a post-fight show. Yes, it's going to be hella early if you're here in North America, maybe around 8 a.m. on the East Coast, probably around 5 a.m. here on the West Coast where I am. But we are going to have you covered for a post-fight show for Inaway and Nery. So you know what, Bryan, before we get into this, we did back-to-back lives. If you missed it yesterday, we did Canelo and Munguia. Now we're doing Inaway and Nery, a great weekend for boxing. Which one are you more excited for?
We also did Kendrick versus Drake a little bit, which I'm probably more excited about that. But um I'm probably a little bit more excited to see Canelo Munguia only from the standpoint of like I think that one may be more competitive. Whereas I think now you're in a way, look, he's arguably the best boxer in the world. He's pound for pound, one or two. I don't think he has a case for number three. I think he's either one or two at this point. And a lot of people have him number one. And you can't even say that's not the case. And the odds, which we'll talk about, will reflect that. Like a lot of people think now you're in a way is gonna blow through Lewis Nery easily. So to me,
He's a
I
formidable opponent. He's a tough opponent.
I'm
But it's
excited to see both.
Inaway.
I'm excited to
Yeah.
see both, and I'm excited to do the lives for both, especially, the Inaway one is gonna be early, but hopefully, because we did get some viewers from Japan, hopefully like they'll continue to tune in and we have some more people. Because in a way is fun to talk about because I think he's one of the best athletes in the world, honestly, at this point. He's that good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, he's definitely if you have him number 1, I'm not gonna be mad at you. And I think I switch it all the time after they fight. I'm like, Inouye is number 1, Bud is number 1. I just switch it. I can't even pick because that's how good this guy is. And he's just running through some of my favorite boxers, ran through Cool Boy stuff. And I think it's going to happen in Lewis Nery. We're going to get into all of that though. But why don't we just start off right now? This one is not really the most interesting topic, but we got to get into it because we're breaking this all down. What happens if Naoya Inoue beats Lewis Nery?
Womp womp. Because, I mean, listen, this is what we think is going to happen. But I mean, we'll have to talk about the other side, which we will in a few minutes. But Naoya Inoue wins this. I do wonder, like, this is an interesting what's next scenario because we all think at some point, and reminder that this is in defense of his undisputed super bantamweight championship, undisputed in multiple weight classes. Another thing that's just like ridiculous. Inoue is 31, and I do wonder now that he's in his prime, how long will he extend his prime? When will be the point? Because we were asking these questions about Canelo Alvarez. It's like if he's not going to win forever, and he did just lose to Dimitri Bivol a couple years ago, then there has to be a fall off at some point. It doesn't feel like Canelo's quite there yet, but we've seen a little bit of signs of it, not stopping John Wright or whatever. And I wonder when's going to be the first sign for Inouye where it starts to slip a little bit. I don't think we're there yet. I think some people were like, hey, Marlon Tapales actually lasted 10 rounds. And it's like, Tapales is tough, bro. And it's not like he was winning a bunch of rounds in that fight either. I think we each found like a round or two, maybe tops, that it seemed that Inouye took off. But this is not a fight that I project that he's going to take off rounds because there's a level of personal in this one. And I think with Inouye, when is he going to get to featherweight is really the question for me. So in terms of what happens next, when is he going to take those challenges at 126 pounds that we all feel like he's capable of getting there and thriving, especially since I don't think that weight class is that great. Like I think he can beat everybody at 126 right now.
Yeah, you know what's crazy about this, Bryan, is that you talked about like if there's going to be a fall off at some point. Inoue's only 31 years old. Like, I feel like he's in
Yeah,
his prime right now.
agree.
I feel like that's not going to happen just yet. For me, I also believe he can beat anyone at 126 pounds. So obviously, if he continues to go on this magical run, and if he ends up destroying Luis Nery, which is a possibility. And listen, we're gonna get into Nery too. We're not sleeping on him because he's one of my favorite boxers. So I'm going to get into the ways that he could also win, but I know it's Inaway at this point, right? So when I take a look at the 126-pound division, a couple of names stand out to me: Ray Vargas, Lee Wood, you know, Brandon Figueroa, possibly, right? Because we know Figueroa is fighting this weekend, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, and you also have like Ray Ford and you have Luis Lopez, like guys that I all think in a way would beat. If I'm being totally honest.
I think so. I think so as well. So it's just like, when I take a look at Inaway and I take at the 126-pound division, I think he gets through a lot of those guys. I know that he keeps on moving up a weight class and like just killing that weight class. But I think if Inaway beats Luis Nery, which is a name in this division, don't sleep on Nery. He doesn't have all the hype around as other fighters do. But it's a fight that I want to see. And listen, everyone talks about Tank and Ryan Garcia. Well, why doesn't Tank come down to 130 and Inouye go up to 130 and we see them fight at 130? Because that is the fight that I would want to see next. That would be a blockbuster fight. Would you not want to see that?
The thing I don't expect that we will, but sure, like if Tank could still make 130, which I don't know that because he fights at 135. A bunch of us think that he can get to 140. He just for whatever reason has said he doesn't feel comfortable there following his easy victory over Mario Barrios.
Yeah.
Like I wonder if Tank and Tank is someone who's an Inoue fan. Like he has said this in the past.
He has said that he would likely be interested in a fight. Now, will that actually happen? Because people talk a bunch of stuff in boxing
Yeah.
and it never happens, it never goes down. But if I'm talking about a dream fight, I think that would be my dream fight, other than Canelo and Bud. And if we
Yeah.
got to start the conversation in the boxing community, right? If we got to start this in the boxing community, like just like in rap beef, I feel like Joe Budden stirs the pot. Like if I want to stir
Yo,
the
okay,
pot,
yeah.
let me see Inouye and Tank, because Inouye is running through these weight classes. Also, by the way, guys, please leave some comments. We are going to be getting to your comments. This is an interactive show, but
Yeah.
that's what I would kind of look towards because I feel like he's gonna continue this streak. And we're going to be extremely impressed with him. He's going to move up to 126 pounds, and then he's going to start dominating there. And then it's like, what's next? What's the next blockbuster fight? And for me, it would be Inouye and Tank. Will that fight happen? I don't know, but I'm extremely interested in it. So before we move on to the next portion, because I don't know if you have anything more to say.
I do.
Okay.
So it's like it's really a testament to one how good Inoue is that we're like, hey, can he fight the best lightweight in the world? Can he fight Tank? And it's also a testament to like how much we think he will go through 126. And honestly, if you look at 130, which is probably where he tops out at, in my
Yeah.
opinion, I don't think he'll get to lightweight or whatever. I mean, I'm not gonna say never, but 5'5", 67-inch reach, you probably want to top out at like 126, 130. The best super featherweights in the world are who? Emmanuel Navarrete, Oshaki Foster, Oscar Valdez. Like, there's size disadvantages there, but we would all favor in a way in terms of technical ability. So I think that's why people have said like, hey, could he fight Tank? Same thing with Crawford and Canelo Alvarez. Literally the same thing. Because what have we talked about on this show? Hey, the super welterweight class is kind of weak. The class at middleweight is kind of weak. So can the best super middleweight fight the best welterweight in like meeting in the middle type of thing? Because this is what the state of some of these weight classes are. I do think super welterweight's more interesting now because Terrence Crawford is going to be there. He's making his debut in August. Errol Spence is planning on being there. And I think Boots Ennis, while he's at welterweight now, he probably will be there at some point relatively soon, relatively after some more time in welterweight, some more fights. And you still have, guys in the super welterweight division who are competitive. And Sebastian Fudora has a title now. That's interesting. Tim Zhu is still a threat. He's going to fight Virgil Ortiz. That's going to be a
Whew.
ridiculous fight. But yeah, in a way, I think what's next for him is just trying to like, can he become undisputed at featherweight? Is what I want to see the most. Can he do
Yeah.
it in 3 weight classes?
Yeah, because if you think about Inaway and how dominant he's been on his run, there is going to be a size advantage that comes up at some point. And you mentioned if he moves up, like you might want to top out. I think he might want to top out at 126. 130, I feel like is crazy pushing it. And we saw what Canelo tried to do against Bevel, right? And we thought Canelo was just going to run through these weight classes. Like weight classes are there for a reason. And so when you mentioned Emmanuel Navarrete, who is, defensively irresponsible at times. The only fight I want to see him fight, this is off topic, is him and Shakur Stevenson. And until that happens, I don't know. But for Inaway, I want to see him in Tank, and maybe they can meet at a catch weight. I don't know if that's going to happen, but I do feel like he would have success at 126. But one thing at a time, he has to get past Luis Nery. So let's get into this portion, the more interesting portion of this. Actually, let's get to some comments before we do that. Let's go to our friend of the show, Jay. Jay, thank you for joining us. He said, Inaway will win by points easy, but Inaway will try to knock him out. Okay, so let's go back to his first comment here. I'm starting to think Inaway will have some trouble fighting Nery. Okay, let us know why. Hustle Man, who's also a friend of the show, Inaway is taking out top contenders before moving up. I see MJ and Saudi and Sam Goodman in Australia. I love that because he was supposed to fight MJ.
Mm-hmm.
Like that was the fight that was
Tapala's
supposed to
spoiled it.
happen,
Yeah.
right? And it never happened. And there's a little bit of bad blood, so if they can like hype up the fight that way, why not? Also, a friend of the show, we always got to go to his comments. I am PK13. Thanks for rocking with us this morning. Hi, y'all. I'm not sure why you guys are doing this segment. It's just called content, okay? PK, just support it. Anyways, unstoppable
Yeah,
monster.
it's also because like, this is how we do our multi-part previews. We got to talk about each side, which we're gonna do right now because we're gonna talk about what happens if Luis Nery upsets Naoya Inoue. Which, listen, we weren't sure how much we had to really go in on the possibility of Jaime Munguia upsetting Canelo Alvarez. We did that, and we probably could have done more on what happens if Ryan Garcia beat Devin Haney, which we did talk a lot about after the fact because Ryan Garcia ended up beating Devin Haney. This would be a bigger upset, though. Luis Nery beating Naoya Inoue would be more shocking, bigger upset. It would be in the Tokyo Dome, which that sets an interesting precedent because Buster Douglas and Mike Tyson also happened in the Tokyo Dome, I believe, in Japan. Listen, this would be the upset of the year, and I do think there will probably be an immediate rematch. Like these two will run it back in, September, October, November, whatever the time is. Maybe it'll be in Japan again. Who knows? And look, this is a point you made, and this is a point that we've been talking about. Like, not everyone wins forever. So while I do think now you're in a way, we both think he's gonna win this fight. Spoiler alert, but we'll talk more about like what exactly is the process of getting there and what our bets are. Money be green. But like you have to allow yourself the possibility because I do think if you're an underdog in boxing and you have punching power, anything is kind of possible. And you can get caught. I don't think that Inoue will, but if Luis Nery does, then we have a very interesting like, is he pound for pound top 10 all of a sudden? Now that he's undisputed in this weight class, assuming he makes weight, because that's the other part of this. He's missed weight before.
He has 118 pounds. I believe he came in at 121.
121, yes, and it was in Japan, and yeah, and, listen, he was banned by the boxing commission out there for a little bit because of that, and also, substance.
Which
But
turned
it
out
would
to
be,
be meat, apparently, that he said. He ate some
yeah,
meat in Mexico.
Canelo said the same shit for when the Triple G fight had to be postponed for a while, and yeah, it's whatever. But yeah, it would just be the biggest upset of the year, and it would just send shockwaves throughout the sport. And then it's like, all right, we get a rematch. Let's see what happens. But listen, all of our favorite fighters have losses, except if Floyd Mayweather's one of your favorite fighters, he does not. Um, Anything can happen.
Yeah, I agree with you in a sense where this would be not only the biggest upset of the year if Nery beat Inoue, it would be the upset of the decade. Because who's really thinking Inoue is going to lose in this weight class after what he did to Cool Boy Steph? And I don't know where you had Cool Boy Steph ranked, Stephen Fulton, going by his nickname, but I don't know if you liked Cool Boy Steph less than Nery, but for me, it's like the way that he dominated that fight. And of course, Tapales, he was still breaking him down round by round. The fight went longer than we expected, but because it went longer and we expect Inoue to have this crazy finish every time that he gets into the ring, we were like, it wasn't the best performance, but it really was. But for Nery, if he wins this fight, I think it propels his career. I think people start putting a spotlight on him. And then, honestly, if Nery was to upset Inoue, and I said this about Ryan Garcia, shoot him into the pound for pound. How could you not? He's arguably the number one boxer in the world. So listen, I know it's not easy to make the pound for pound list, and I'm not like just saying I'll throw anybody in there, but if you're beating Inaway, then I believe that you would be able to be on that pound for pound list. I think Louis Nery would be able to do whatever he wanted after. I don't know if there's a rematch clause, but
There probably is.
yeah,
I'm sure there
100%.
is.
But at the same time, if there isn't, if I'm Nery, I don't even know if I give you the rematch. There's money in it though. But at the same time, I think Nery would be able to do whatever he wanted. He would be the king of the division. And I think his star would just propel to a place that it's never been before. But it's a tough task to go to Japan and beat Inaway. So we're going to see if that happens. Let's get into some more comments before we get into the Money Be Green betting portion of this. We're going to give you our best bet for this fight, how we think it's going to go. Let's get to some comments. All right. So I asked Jay why he's taking Nery in this fight. He thinks Nery is going to give Inaway some problems. And he said, Nery uses the Philly shell like Tapales did. He will block left hook to the body. Inaway will hit straight easy, but those can't stop Nery. So Nery actually alternates between his guards. He goes with the high guard, the Philly shell, and the low guard. Now, when he uses the Philly shell, he's going to block the one, but he's going to get popped with the two. And Inaway's going to throw the 1-2. And what is Inaway's best punch? The left hook. And Nery's going to get popped with that if he goes with the Philly shell. Because when he goes with the Philly shell, he defensively gets a little bit irresponsible. And as you know, the Philly shell, depending on how you use it, you're not always getting the most protection. I think the high guard for Nery would probably be the best, depending on where he's going to be alternating his guards, because I was going to mention this in my breakdown, but when he goes with the low guard, he gets defensively irresponsible. His lead hand is low. It's a fight made for Inaway to have a great performance. So I got to disagree with you, Jay. I think when he uses the Philly shell, he's going to get hit with the two all of the time consistently. You don't want to do that with somebody like Inaway. And we got to rock with our guy here, Ace_317. I wish there was another superstar around Inaway's weight class. He's running through all of them.
Yeah, and there's not, and that's part of the problem. Also, to that point, like Inoue's a southpaw killer, as we mentioned. Tapales lasted a little bit longer than we thought, but also I think Louis Nery is going to be there, as you said, for the two. I think that's going to be the punch that probably floors him. It's going to be a straight right hand. We actually saw him land this a lot against Stephen Fulton, who is not a southpaw, but it was pretty shocking because you thought it would have been a body shot. There were a lot of people that thought that one, Fulton was going to win, or two, that would go to the cards. But the way Inoue was able to break him down just made him very uncomfortable. Louis Nery is giving off that he's not going to be intimidated, so we'll see what happens when he actually gets there. But I agree with your assessment. Like, I do think Louis Nery is not going to be hard to find, and that's going to be part of the issue he's going to have from the jump.
And by the way, getting back to Jay here, yeah, he's gonna leave himself susceptible to those liver shots. But listen, I don't know what's worse, right? You're getting hit by that too. You're getting hit with the liver. Also, let's remember, I'm always with like your memory. Your body has this type of memory, and Nery's been put down on the ground before from a body shot by Brandon Figueroa, right? So is it like muscle
In round
memory?
7. In round
Yes.
7 also.
So is it like muscle memory at that point? So I don't think any guard's going to help Nery in this fight. Like, I'm sorry. I just don't think it's going to happen because he is defensively irresponsible. But you know what? Let's get right into it and keep the comments coming, guys. I love the back and forth with everyone as well. We'll get to one comment before we get into Money Be Green.
Yeah.
It's Hustle Man, friend of the show. Hustle Man, thanks for rocking with us this morning. He's talking to Jay, saying, I disagree. His style is all bad for Inaway. His wild, wide punches and leaving his hands down is going to be his downfall. I think Inaway stops Nery in 5. All right, you know what? With that being said, Bryan, let's get to the betting portion of this all. Lewis Nery, straight up on the money line, is a plus 800 if you're rocking with the underdog and you like that bet. And Naoya Inoue is a minus 1400. So that's pretty wide. I'm not mad at that, though. I'm not actually mad at this line. Do you think it's a little bit disrespectful, though?
Like, I don't have the recourse to be like, hey, this is off. The Canelo Munguia one was a little more like, I feel like because Canelo's aging, blah, 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 but no, Naoya Inoue is, I mean, if he were minus 2,000, I'd probably be like, that's still not that steep because of what he's shown us and because of our questions about Lewis Nery and things of that nature. Also, want to know, because a lot of people may think, hey, what's Naoya Inoue to win by stoppage? Minus 500 to win by knockout or technical knockout. So if you want to play that straight up, you better put in a lot to get some value, because minus 500 is not great.
Oh, is it my turn to talk? Yeah, it's not. So
Yeah, I
we got to
petered
look
out there.
for.
That's my bad.
I actually don't think the I don't think the line is disrespectful. But I do think Nery has a chance in this fight, a puncher's chance. He does have power, and Inaway will be facing that power. So let's get into the breakdown of the fight, Bryan. How are you betting this one, and how do you think this fight is going to go?
So kind of in the same uh sphere as Hustle Man. I got Naoya Inoue winning by knockout or technical knockout between rounds 1 through 6. Brandon Figueroa got it done in round 7. I think Inaway gets it done faster. I don't think he's going to come in and mess around. There's elements of this that are personal that we sort of touched on, but remember, he was suspended, he being Lewis Nery, by banned actually by the Japanese Boxing Commission. Shinsuke Yamanaka was a former bantamweight champion, and Lewis Nery went in there, knocked him out, tested positive for a substance, knocked him out again, came in overweight. Like, it was just a mess, right? So he is technically 2-0 with 2 knockouts in Japan. Top Rank recently posted him saying that he's going to go 3-0, and he's only fought 6 rounds between those 2 fights, because 1 stoppage was in the 2nd round, 1 was in the 4th. But I don't think he's going to have the same success against Inaway, who I think is going to make it a point. Like, it just feels like one of those performances where he's going to want to make a statement early, as he has done against other southpaws. So I think Inaway gets done within the first 6 rounds. That is plus 120 at the time of this recording at one prominent book. If you're curious, for him to get the stoppage late, 7 through 12, plus 150. So, or plus 170. I saw it in other books. So it's pretty split. But I think he gets it done early.
So before we hopped on, I was letting Bryan know, no, I already knew my bet. I just needed to go check the odds really quick. And I was like, you know what? I think Inaway is going to get it done rounds 1 through 6. And he was like, I have this exact same bet. So I'm rocking with Lewis Nery to get knocked out. I think Inaway will get the stoppage between rounds 1 through 6, which is a plus 120, you said, Bryan?
Plus 120, yep.
Which I believe are some good odds. The reason why I say this is because I talked about Lewis Nery alternating between his guards. When he has the low guard going on, he drops his lead hand. He leaves himself open to getting hit. Also, when he throws combinations and he's trading, because we know that Lewis Nery is also a pressure guy. He likes to come forward. I don't know if you necessarily want to trade with a guy like Inaway, but when he's throwing those combos, he leaves he leaves his chin just wide open, right? Like, wide open. And so he's going to get hit by Inaway during those moments, right? And I just think that he's defensively irresponsible during those moments. And so when that happens, it's like, are you going to be better defensively? Because we've seen Nery fight before. We've seen him get dropped before by Brandon Figueroa in the 7th round, which was a liver shot. So I don't think the high guard is going to help him. I don't think the low guard is going to help him. I don't think the Philly shell is going to help him, because the way that Nery fights, he's going to get hit. And we've seen him go toe to toe, and he's an aggressive fighter. On the other hand, on the flip side, when you take a look at Inaway, we know that he likes to come forward. And it's all about his speed, his timing, and his power. And I believe they're all better than Nery's. And in this fight, I think when I take a look at their skill set, Nery's really good. He's going to have the puncher's chance in this one. And I do believe he might have some moments against Inaway. How many? I'm not quite sure. But I think Inaway jumps on him fast. And I think he gets it done fast. So I think it's going to happen in between rounds 1 through 6. And for me, it's going to be another great performance by Inaway. And getting a name like Nery on the list just adds to his resume. Where at the end of this, I am PK13 says, Shantelle, you really do love your Mexican fight. I do. I do. But I'm not rocking with Nery in this one at all. I'm rocking with Inaway. I think he gets it done, and I think it's just another phenomenal performance by him. And for myself, once he gets Nery on his resume and we go through Inaway's resume, it's going to be hard for us to not put him number 1.
Until Terrence Crawford inevitably wins the super welterweight title, and then we have to have this discussion again. Is this the biggest puncher that Inaway's seen since Nonito Donaire, maybe the second fight?
Yes, I think so. And you know what? Going into that fight, which is crazy, Donaire had this really good performance in his previous fight. And coming into this one, guys, Nery is on a 4-fight win streak. 3 out of those 4 fights have been by stoppage or knockout. So he's coming into this fight feeling good on a run. And for myself, I feel like that's great for Nery, but he's facing the monster. I was going to say he's facing a different type of he's facing a different type of monster in this one. And I just think he's defensively irresponsible. He's going to come forward. He's going to try to land those combos. He's a combo guy. But I also think that Inaway is going to have success with the counter.
Let's get to some comments before we get out of here. Okay. We have Hustle Man, who notes, and this is important, Nery is on weight. They just did the 7-day weight check, and he's at 124.6. Thank you, because I meant to look that up actually before we got started, and I forgot because I was looking something else up. As long as Louis Nery, doesn't eat a few things, that'll take him back over. And shows up.
Stay away from the Mexican meat, okay? Apparently, it has substance.
It's really good. Just eat it after the fight. But it's really good. All right. We have Jay, who says, no, we already put that comment up. We have Ace 317 instead because Jay, we already put your comment up. So leave another one so we could put it up. Does Inaway move up after this, which we talked about before? I think he should, but there is one fight that we probably still want to see at super bantamweight, as we talked about earlier.
MJ?
Yes.
That's the only one that I could think of. And the Bad Blood, the storylines would be really good.
Yeah.
However, like I said, I think Inaway tries to move up after this fight. So yeah, I think eventually we'll get the MJ fight, possibly if it makes sense. But I think Inaway is one of those cats that's trying to make history.
I think the fight still makes sense. Because he just beat Kevin Gonzalez, who's undefeated actually, in December, and the loss to Marlon Tapales, it's not like he got his ass whooped. It was a split decision. So I think you can still talk yourself into, hey, this is a big fight in Japan. It's most likely going to be in Japan. I know people want Inaway to come back to the United States. Respectfully, I think that if you're doing that, I think you would face somebody else, probably like a Ray Ford at featherweight or something along those lines. But even then, it's like, Inaway never has to fight in America again, and he'll be fine.
I mean, I think as a fighter too, I think it bodes well for you to go to Japan because you're going to make the dollars there. You're going to make a lot more money there. People forget that, Stephen Fulton made a ton of money there, more than he would have made here in North America. Whether the fight would have been in Vegas or New York or something like that, he made tons of money out there in Japan. Inaway never has to leave his home. He never has to leave his home country. Like if I'm Inaway, I'm fighting in Japan every time. But I, as a fan, would love to see him here.
Me
So
too. Me too. Listen, I would love for him to fight at Madison Square Garden because I actually think that they could do some numbers there with the different communities that we have in New York City, right?
I
And
I
then
think this
obviously the boxing fans too.
I think this fight could have done numbers here.
Yeah, actually. Although I probably would have put it
Vegas.
in the West Coast or
Yeah,
Cali,
because of
just straight.
Nery.
No, you could well, yeah, you could put it straight up. Actually, you could put it in the Bay Area
Dude, if they put
because
it in
they
the
have
Bay,
one of the largest
sheesh.
Japanese populations outside of Japan, or at
Well,
least
yeah,
in
it's the West
America.
Coast.
So yeah,
Yeah, anywhere
right,
on the West Coast, you're gonna get that big Japanese population. So,
right.
um, you know, I think this one is gonna be an interesting fight. And listen, if Nery ends up going past 6 rounds, I'm actually not gonna be. No, I'm gonna be surprised. I'm lying here. I'm gonna be surprised just because of how like irresponsible he is defensively. Because we've seen Nery fight, but it's a possibility it could happen. And I also want to see how Inaway feels his power because I do think that Nery is gonna have to start off a little bit early in this fight
Yeah,
because
yeah,
listen, even on the scorecards, skill wise, skill set wise, Inaway's gonna get you. Let's get to some more comments before we get up out of here. Um, let's go over to Jay again, and I am PK13. You got some other comments on there that maybe we'll get to.
yeah. We're
Uh,
gonna get to that.
Jay Inaway is not eager to go up if he can't perform 100%. When he is ready, he moves up. Yeah, for sure. That's a
Yeah.
very logical answer. Thank you.
So we could, yeah. So
Oh,
we, yeah, and I think he'll get Ahmadaliya first. Someone
yeah,
else mentioned Sam Goodman. I was like, I could probably see that too. Like, if you tell me, okay, Ahmad Aliyev is late this year, Sam Goodman is 2025 in like May or something
yeah.
along those lines, and then late in 2025 maybe moves up to featherweight. By then, I think he'll be 32 years old. That makes sense.
Yeah. All right. Let's get to Hustleman right here. Why don't you read this comment? Because I read the last one.
Man, what Inaway is gonna do to Nery for for Yamanaka in this country, I can't wait to see it. Straight punishment from start until it's over in 5. Laughing emoji, laughing and crying emoji. Um, Listen, I probably agree with that. I think if Inouye has a slow round, maybe it's the first where he's, just trying to figure out and download the information, as we like to say. Also of note, I don't know if I mentioned this earlier, he has a reach advantage, which he doesn't
Yeah.
always have necessarily in this fight. It's 2.5 inch reach advantage too. It's not like a tiny one. So I think he has reasons to sort of give that first round, see what happens. But Lewis Nery, I have a feeling is going to try to press the pace. um, Good luck with that.
That's the way he fights. And I
Yeah.
don't know. And Inouye is really good at fighting at mid range. So
Calmly
yes.
also.
So Lewis Neary, I'm like, well, you got two options. You're gonna either fight the distance, try to fight the distance, because Inouye's footwork is so good. His lead hand, he throws off the back foot, and it's just like, dude, this guy's lead hand is so nice. But at the same time, when I take a look at Neary, it's like you don't want to have a phone booth fight with him. Like you don't want to fight with him on the inside. Like why would you want to trade with him? So his options are kind of limited.
You can't if you're on the road fighting for a title, but if you're on the road in general, you don't want to leave it up to the scorecards if you can help it.
No.
Now, Lewis Neary also, I'm 1000% sure believes in his powers. So I do think he's actually going to try to push the action. Also because, like, again, in a way, he's going to have the advantage of mastering range and also the reach. So I think distance wise, he'll be fine.
Yeah, and I also think that in a way he's such a respectable guy. He's going to respect Neary's power at first. He's going to try to feel it. Neary's going to try to land on him, trying to make a statement early on. We'll see how that happens. This is an interesting one because I just looked. Hustle man, don't be surprised if Inoue finishes it in one. I took a look at the odds right now. Naoya Inoue to get the win in rounds 1 through 4 plus 270. That might be something that I might want to sprinkle on because it's a possibility. I could see him also getting it done in like round 3. I don't know why round 3 sticks out to me, but by round 3, I think Nery is going to be taking a lot of punishment by then. By round 3, I think that might happen.
Inouye's last first round knockout, Juan Carlos Payano, and that was a southpaw. That was in 2018.
All right, so a little while ago, a little while ago.
He also had another first round knockout that year against Jamie McDonald.
We'll get into it's okay. You can let the background go. I said condoms instead of combos today. So that's how early it is on, on the West Coast here. Hustle man. Raymond Ford said Inaway would have to fight him at 130 or it's not happening because he doesn't want to drain himself to make 126 for that fight, which is respectable in him being honest. Okay, so here's the thing. I'm not mad at that because Raymond Ford doesn't want to get weight trained. He's being honest about it. And I agree with you, Hustle Man. It's like if you're not comfortable fighting at that weight class, like don't pull a Ryan Garcia as he did with Tank when there were so many things that Ryan Garcia had to go through with the dehydration clause and everything like that. So I'm actually not mad at that. Raymond Ford, a very, very exciting fighter as well. And we'll see what happens with that. Bryan, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
Again, it'll be the upset of the year if Inaway loses, but I don't think he's losing.
That's true. By the way, thank you to everyone who rocked with this morning. Thank you to everyone that left a comment. If you haven't already liked our YouTube channel or this video, please do. It helps the channel grow. Follow us on our social media channels. Also, keep in mind that we are going to be doing a post-fight show for Canelo Munguia this Saturday, right after the fight. We're going to be hopping on here. We're going to be taking your comments. We're going to be going through the fight. Also, after Inaway and Nery, we'll be up early in the morning with you, breaking down this fight, taking your comments as well. So hang out with us after the fights. We will be here with you. And before we get out of here, Bryan, let's go to Ace_317's comment. What fight are you looking forward to the most this month?
Still Alexander Usyk and Tyson Fury. I think that's the one for me.
Yeah, because I think we've been waiting for that one for a minute. We're going to find out who the best heavyweight is. For me, all I will say that is I'm excited to see Loma fight, but I don't really care about him fighting George Kambosos Jr. So I think for me, that's the least fight. I'll give the least one. That's the one I'm least excited for, but I'll probably still watch it.
You're least excited about Josh Taylor and Jack Catterall too.
Okay, never mind. Yes, it's that one. That's the one I don't care about. That's the one I don't even know if I'm probably just gonna catch it like 5 days later. We know if I'm up at night in my bed, heat's on, it's cold, still cold up here in Canada. I might put this on and put me to sleep. You know what I mean? That's what I might do for Catterall and Taylor. I don't care about that fight. I'm not being biased. Shout out to everyone there on the across the pond. You know what? For me, I gotta agree. It's gotta be Usyk and Fury, and I still don't know who I'm gonna be taking. I don't know who I'm taking in that fight. I keep switching.
Yeah.
I'm at a loss. I might not even make a bet. I might just break down the fight with you because I don't know who I'm taking as a fan. Thank you so much for rocking with us, guys. We'll be back for a live show. Remember, after Canelo and Munguia, and then we'll also be doing the post-fight show for Nery and Inaway. So thank you so much for joining us this morning. We'll be back with some more content, and make sure to follow us on our social media channels. And thank you so much for hanging out with us this morning.